Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Edgeman Synergy coming to you guys here today with a deck text. So, today we are going to be taking a look at a standard deck, and it is Jund Zombie Pod. So, for you guys that are not familiar with what Jund is, it is black, red, and green in a combination here. So, mainly the deck is going to be using black as its strongest color here. Red is a little bit of a kind of utility, a little bit of burn that's going on. And green is going to be a splash for Birthing Pod and Thragtusk as a searchable 5-drop for Birthing Pod. But this is a pre-Return to Ravnica deck, so post-Return to Ravnica we're not going to have a lot of the cards that are rotating here. But on the bright side, whenever Return to Ravnica comes out, I'm going to be playing Jund Zombies and Golgari Zombies, or just Black-Green Zombies, whatever you guys want to call it. But more zombie deck text will be coming out after Return to Ravnica comes out for sure. But nonetheless, we're going to be taking a look at this deck. But if you guys have any suggestions for stuff that you would like to see, please leave that down in the comments down below. And please be sure to check out the playlist in the description for all of the deck texts that I've already covered. So that way that you guys can check it out and see maybe I already covered something that you want, which sometimes that's the case. But we are going to break this down here. So the first thing that we're taking a look at is the mana base. So we're running 22 lands. First off, we have Blackcleave Cliffs giving us red and black. So we're running a playset. Early game card. We have Dragonskull Summit, also running a playset. If I can get them, there we go. Kind of just make these look a little bit more neat. Woodland Cemetary, playset as well, giving us green and black, and green's more of a splash than anything. Mainly we're only really going to need one source of green mana to get things going as far as Birthing Pod goes, just because we don't want to pay a whole lot of life with Birthing Pod, but if we have to, we can. And then we have our basics, so we have 10 basic swamps. So 22 lands total, 12 non-basic, 10 basic. It's a really nice mana base for a deck like this one, just because we do a little bit of drawing here and there on top of what we can, alongside of what we can do. And with Birthing Pod's like a utility. We don't need it to win, or we don't need it to get the deck going, but if we do have Birthing Pod, it definitely speeds things along and makes it a lot better. So 22 lands, just excuse the little glare that's right there. It's just because of the overhanging light here, but now we're taking a look at everything else in the deck. So Gravecrawler, our creature, starting off here first with the lowest mana costs. So Gravecrawler is a 2/1 for 1 black, can't block, and you can play it from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. So makes it really easy to recast him as long as you control another zombie on the battlefield. So play set of Gravecrawler. Gonna put him right there. Then we have Diregraf Ghoul. So play set of the Ghoul as well. And he is a 2/2 for 1 black, enters the battlefield tapped. It's just a plain and simple, pretty generic zombie card for 1 black. But zombie decks use the same 16 cards. Every single zombie deck is going to use them. Gravecrawler, Diregraf Ghoul, Blood Artist, and Geralf's Messenger. Every single zombie deck, before Return to Ravnica at least, that is just the norm. That's what you want to run. And speaking of which, we have Blood Artist. So 0/2 for 2 mana. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. With the amount of sacrificing that we have between Birthing Pod and other stuff going on here, it really adds up really easily, as well as removal on our opponents, so that adds up too. So play set of Blood Artist, Geralf's Messenger, 3/2 for 3 mana, enters the battlefield tapped, deals 2 damage whenever he comes into the battlefield, or should I say target opponent loses 2 life, so it's not actually dealing damage. So that is a clause that could make or break some interaction that your opponent has because of life loss or something like that, or if damage was dealt. more so, something like that. But Undying, whenever he dies, comes back in. He's going to be a 4/3 the next time around, and he's going to deal 2 damage again. Or he's going to make your opponent lose 2 life. I always say deal damage as a just kind of a basic thing to say. But Geralf's Messenger, if you guys have played with him, you know what he does. We have Vampire Nighthawk, so another 3-drop in our deck. Aside from being something searchable after Blood Artist, if we need to, we can get him. But more times than none, we're just going to play him with the 3 mana. Flying Death Touch, Lifelink 2, 3 for 3. He deters aggro a little bit. It's not huge what he can do, but it does make aggro not as overwhelming if we're playing up against it, because they're not going to want to swing with every single thing if you have a Death Touch Lifelinker. But the Flying Death Touch Lifelink, the evasion's nice because you can swing in and gain back a little bit of life and kind of level out from any life that you've had to pay for other things. So 2 Vampire Nighthawks. Now getting into our more searched for with Birthing Pod cards, we have Disciple of Bolas. So we're running 2 of these, and a lot of people looked at this card whenever M13 came out, and they really didn't think much of him, but he's a 2/1 for 4 mana. He's a human wizard, and whenever he enters the battlefield, sacrifice another creature. We gain X life, draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. So what happens more times than none is when I have Birthing Pod out, it's going to be Geralf's Messenger, sacrifice Geralf's Messenger, searching for Phyrexian Metamorph. Geralf's Messenger comes back with Undying, has a +1/+1 on him, and then I have Phyrexian Metamorph be a copy of Geralf's Messenger. So total, that would be 6 life loss between the first Geralf entering, the second one entering, and then Phyrexian Metamorph entering as a copy of him. From there, sacrificing Phyrexian Metamorph comes back just as Phyrexian Metamorph with the +1/+1 counter, then copies up Geralf's Messenger. That's another 2 life, and then Disciple of Bolas comes out here, and I can sacrifice either or because both of them are pretty much the same at that point. And I can sacrifice one of the 2 Geralfs, either the Geralf itself or the copy. Sacrifice it, gain 4 life, draw 4 cards off of it from there. So that is one of the really nice things about it. You really want to draw a lot of cards with a card like Disciple of Bolas, and especially in a deck like this one, because you can do multiple things per turn, and this deck is one of them that likes to synergize with that. So 2 Disciple of Bolas. Speaking of Phyrexian Metamorph, we have it here. So 4 cost, 3 generic, 1 Phyrexian blue, enters the battlefield as a copy of a creature on the battlefield, except it's a artifact in addition to its other types. But other than that, it has its same converted mana cost as whatever you're copying. More times than none, it's going to be Geralf's Messenger. We're only running it as a 1-of, and it's a more searchable card than anything in the deck. We have Falkenrath Aristocrat, also as a 4-drop, 4/1 for 4 mana, 2 generic, 1 black, 1 red. Flying haste, sacrifice a creature, and she gains indestructible. If it was a human, in the case of Disciple of Bolas, which sometimes we do sack him for her indestructible, she gets a +1/+1 counter, making her bigger. So really awesome target because she has flying and haste, and she can just deal a lot of damage really easily. Then we have Thragtusk. So Thragtusk is our 5-drop here. So 5/3 for 5, 4 generic, 1 green. Enters the battlefield, and we gain 5 life. So this is going to help us balance out with any stuff that we're paying life for. And whenever he leaves the battlefield, we get a 3/3 green beast. So it's awesome that he is really hard to get rid of even when he's off the battlefield. He just makes a token that is going to be equally as annoying for your opponent because they have to deal with that too. But gaining life is what makes him really nice, aside from just being a 5/3 for 5 whenever we're searching for him with Pod. Now we're getting to our non-creature spells. So Birthing Pod, 4 to cast, 3 generic, 1 Phyrexian green. And the ability is 1 generic, 1 Phyrexian green. Tap, sacrifice a creature, and we're searching for a creature card with converted mana cost 1 more than what we sacrificed. So 3 Birthing Pods. It's not a necessity for the deck. The deck works without Birthing Pod, but it's better whenever you get Birthing Pod. We have Sign in Blood, so we're running 3 of these as well. Double black, target player draws 2 cards, loses 2 life. More times than not, we're using it on ourselves, but if our opponent's at 2 life, we'll just use it on them and win. It's like having a burn spell if our opponent's at 2 or 1 life. So that's another way that we can just kind of work around that. But 9 times out of 10, Sign in Blood, pay 2 life, draw 2 cards for us. Brimstone Volley, running 3 of these as well. Pretty 3-drop heavy, or 3 of heavy, should I say. Also a little bit 3-drop-ish, but deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Morbid, if a creature died during this turn, it deals 5 damage instead. So a way to synergize with stuff sacrificing with Birthing Pod outside of that. Dealing 5 damage on top of anything that's already been done is pretty nice for 3 mana. So 3 Brimstone Volleys. We have 1 Bonfire of the Damned, and this is a nice card if we want to miracle it for 1 or 2, X equals 1 or 2, something like that. We don't want to use it a lot, and that's why you won't see more copies of it in my deck. Just because we want to have it where we have the mana to do other things like Birthing Pod without having to pay life and stuff like that, because that ends up being situational. Bonfire of the Damned is really good. It's an amazing card, but we don't want to have a huge amount of them. I only run 1 main board, 1 sideboard, but Bonfire is still a really good card against aggro type decks, and it gets the job done if you get it. Other removal, we have 2 go for the throat, so 2 cost, 1 generic, 1 black, destroy target non-artifact creature, pretty plain and simple. And our last card here is Tragic Slip. So on top of sacrificing stuff with Birthing Pod, we can Tragic Slip for just 1 mana. So 1 black, target creature gets -1/-1. Really good against Delver that hasn't flipped. Also early game aggro decks, stuff that has 1 toughness creatures. But if a creature died during the turn, that the creature that we're targeting gets -13/-13 instead. So that's another way to synergize on top of Birthing Pod. So that about does it for this deck tech. So if you guys missed out on anything for the deck list, the entire deck list is down below, including the sideboard, so you guys can check that out. Be sure to check out the playlist with all of the other deck techs that I've covered previously. It's in the description as well. And remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more daily Magic the Gathering content. Until next time, guys, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.